Okay, so today, right, we're going to be going over the Chapter 11 review. Now, high recommendation to have with you is going to be all of those review sheets that have all the formulas that you need to be able to determine, but also to kind of keep track of which formula belongs to which depreciation method. So again, we're going to be taking a look at all three depreciations plus one amortization. So let's go ahead and take a look at this example here. Question number 1 asks, okay, that you purchase a machine for $2,050, okay, with a $500 salvage value, okay. Its useful life is 7 years, all right, and it can produce up to 25,000 units, okay, and you put this machine into service as of June 12th, okay. Use the units of production method. So here, I tell you exactly what to use, all right? So let's go ahead and fill in this information right here, okay? What did I buy?
A machine.
You bought a machine, okay? How much was that machine?
$2,050.
Okay? Was there a salvage value?
Yes, 500.
500. What is its estimated useful life?
7 years.
7 years. And what is the total numbers that it can produce?
25,000 units.
25,000 units. And last but not least, what date did you place into service?
June 12th.
June 12th. So in this case, when do we actually start depreciating it?
June.
June. Okay. Not that it matters, because here at the end of the year, assuming that you are depreciating at the end of the year, you already have the calculated total amount of how many units you produced. So in this case, time is not sensitive here. Okay. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. So with the information that I'm given, and we are completing this as units of production, what is my depreciation basis?
Is the cost 2050?
Okay. What else? Okay, what's the formula for depreciation basis for units of production?
Cost minus salvage.
Cost minus salvage. So in this case, right, my cost of 2,500 minus my salvage value of 500 should give me a grand total of 1,550. Okay? That is how much I can depreciate this asset for, because at the end of its useful life, I should have a remainder of 500. Okay? What's my rate going to be? Excuse me.
Sorry, which method we are using for?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Which method we are depreciation? Is it a production?
Units of production, that's correct. Units of production.
Use the production method. Okay, thank you.
Okay. What is going to be my rate?
I got 0.062.
0.062. How did you solve for that?
It's depreciation basis divided by estimated units of production.
Good. Good. Right? And you got 0.06. Okay. In this case, right, I don't want to round. So I'm just going to extend it so you guys know that it is more than that. But it is 0.062. Okay. So then, how do I solve for my depreciation expense? In this case, I want to round my answer to the nearest penny. How do I solve for my depreciation expense?
The formula is number of units produced that year times the unit rate.
Okay, so I produced 1750 for that year, and I'm going to times it by 0.062. So how much is my depreciation expense for year one?
$108.50.
108.50. Okay, so therefore, what's my accumulated depreciation?
Same 108.50.
108.50. All right, which then, what should my book value be at the end of the first year?
$1941.5.
All right, how did you get that answer, Nathan?
I just subtract the accumulated depreciation to the asset cost.
Good, so 1941.50. Good. All right, so let's go ahead and continue on. What's my depreciation basis for the second year?
The depreciation basis and the rate stays the same.
The depreciation basis and the rate stays the same. Excellent. So that means I can copy this formula all the way down. Now, I used absolute cell referencing, so that's why these numbers are okay. But if you did not use absolute cell referencing, you're going to have to copy and paste or put that formula in there all the time where you do your asset cost minus your salvage, okay? So once again, the rate is also the same. Oh, see, that's what I mean. Okay, so what did I do here? Okay, so I didn't absolute this one. Okay, so then therefore, all of these should also stay the same. Excellent. Okay, so then what's going to be my depreciation expense for year two?
I got $200.17.
117?
217.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So if I'm depreciating another $217, right? what's going to be my total accumulated depreciation? 325.50. So therefore, my book value should be 1724.5. Good. Excellent. So then what about my depreciation expense for year 3? If I produced 3,800 units.
235.6.
Good. All right. Which then should bring me a grand total of accumulated depreciation to be
561.60 or
five, 561.
561.10.
Good. Excellent. Right. So then that brings my book value to be
1488. I think it's 90.
Good.
So in this case, the unit of production is always given.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Always.
Yeah. This should always be given to you. You're never going to have to figure this out because whoever is the production manager, they're going to let you know as the accountant, this is how many units were produced this year. Okay. So then, what's going to be my depreciation expense for year 4 if I produced 4,000 units?
248.
Okay, which brings my total accumulated depreciation to be
809.10.
809.10, which then brings my book value to be
1240.90.
1240.90. Good. So here, what happens for my depreciation expense for year 5 if I produce 4,300 units?
266.60.
266.60. All right, bringing my total accumulated depreciation to be
1,075.70.
good. 1075.70. So then that brings my total book value to be
974.30.
974.30. Good. So we're coming up close to 500. Okay. Let's just gonna go ahead and keep continuing. So let's see what's next. For year 6, I produced 4,100 units. What's my depreciation expense going to be?
$254.20.
254.20. Good. What's my total accumulated?
1329.90.
Good. Which then brings my book value to be
720.10.
720.10. All right. So then on year 7, I end up producing 3,600 units. So what is going to be my depreciation expense?
223.20.
223.20, which brings my total accumulated to be
1553.10.
okay. Which then, what's my total book value at the end of year 7?
It falls under the salvage value, which is 496.90.
496.90. So here we overproduced. Okay. Now, since I've reached this amount right here, how do I go back and fix it? How do I make sure that my total amount here becomes 500?
So you have to work backwards, right? On the book value should be the salvage value.
Correct.
Remember this.
Yes. Now that you can work backwards, or you could actually work forwards if you know how to. So let me strike this through so you guys know that's impossible, right? So you have two options. If you want to work backwards, it's just a little complicated because you have to just be able to rearrange the numbers or rearrange the formula to get the number that you want. Or you could actually technically work forwards, okay? You just have to be able to know how to do that, okay? So in this case, what I've taught you was how to work backwards. So let's talk about that. So in this case, my end goal that I need to be at is just 500, right? That's what I want to be, is 500, right? Because I can't fall below and I can't fall above. So in this case, right, how do I work backwards? What am I going to be doing here? How am I going to be solving for my accumulated depreciation for year 7? In this case, what is the formula for my book value?
I would say the book value equals cost of asset minus accumulated depreciation.
Good, there you go, right? Book value is equal to asset cost minus accum depreciation. So in this case, if I have 500 equaling my cost of the assets 250 minus, let's call this A. How do I solve for my accumulated depreciation?
You just subtract it.
We
You
just,
have 50 minus 500.
and then what do we get?
1,550.
1,550. Good. All right, now that we have this piece of information, how do we work backwards to solve for the depreciation expense? Okay, so in this case, how do I solve for my accumulated depreciation? What is the formula for accumulated depreciation?
So we just add the previous depreciation plus the current depreciation.
Good, so in this case, right, my accumulated depreciation is going to be 1,550, which equals, what's my previous one?
1329.20.
1329.90, okay, plus D, all right, for depreciation expense, okay? So how do I solve for my answer here? If I need to get to 1550 and I have 1329.90, how much more do I need to add to get a total of 1550?
to be 221.
Okay.
Okay, round it up. So
Yes, so in this case, it's going to be 220 and 10 cents, right? You should round up because, right, your previous number here is 720, 720.10. How much do you need to get to 500? And there you go. And that's going to be one of the easier ways to be able to solve forward, right? If you take a look at your book value, if your book value is 720.10, right, at the end of the 6th year, okay? But we need to get to 500. Pretty straightforward. You could just subtract these two numbers to get your depreciation expense. Okay? That's one way of doing it as well. The second way of doing it as well is going to be if you calculate your total grand amount of units that you produce, whatever the difference is, you're going to just take this number and subtract it out. So in this case, right, if I were to go ahead and equal sum this whole row, right, we know that it's 25,050. So therefore, this number right here is going to now be whatever 3600 minus 50, which gives you 3550, right? And that should be able, when you go ahead and go on forth, that should actually help you produce the correct answer. So there's a lot of ways that you can solve for this. It's just, determining how quickly you be able to do it. So like just looking at the formula, if you know at the end of the day it has to equal 500, right? If you know at the end of its 7th year, right, your depreciation basis must match as well. So that's a quick and easy way to be able to determine that as well. Okay.
Can you repeat that, the units produce steps that you did, please?
Okay, so in this case, right, what I did was I took a grand total here of all the numbers that you of units that you produced for that entire thing, right, for the entire 7 years. In this case, I got 25,050. What is my capacity? It's just 25,000, right? So in this case, if it's 25,000, right? And I know from my last year, if I went over 50, then I need to subtract 50 away from my last batch because I produced 50 extra items there. Now, since I subtracted that out, I get 35550, right? Excuse me, 3550. If I go ahead and multiply that by my 6.2 cents, right, I should be able to get to the 220.10. Now, let's go ahead and just test that theory real quick, right? Equal round this number times this number, comma, 2 gives me 220.10, right? That's only if you can figure it that way, right? You should be able to get 210, which then should give you 1550, which then should give you your salvage, your book value to be equal to salvage value. So that's working forward. If you're able to think or able to calculate your total units that you produce in overall and figure out how much extra that you produce, you could just simply find out what number equals to 25,000 and then go forward and calculate what you need to calculate. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So any questions in regards to this exercise here? Okay. I'm not going to require you to journalize it, so that's why this exercise should go fairly quickly. But the main point here is I need you to be able to understand how you're going to be calculating it. Because at the end of the day, the accountant is actually responsible for depreciation. The accountant is not responsible to see how many items they produce. That number is going to be given to you by the production manager. Okay? Right? Any questions?
No.
All right, so moving on to question number 2 here, okay? Here it says that you you purchased a laptop for $890 with a $50 salvage value. Its useful life is 7 years, okay? And you put this laptop into service on January 8th, okay? Use double declining method for depreciation. So once again, what did I buy?
Laptop.
I bought a laptop. How much did that laptop cost me?
$890.
$890. And what was the salvage value?
$50.
$50. Okay. And the estimated useful life?
7 years.
7 years. And when did I place it into service?
January 8th.
January 8th. So in this case, right? When do I actually start depreciating it?
January.
January. Okay. So here's the given table. The assumption here is that we are going to depreciate it at the end of every year, December 31st. So in this case, when we're going to depreciate it for the first year, are we depreciating all of it or some of it? For one whole year, for good. We're going to be depreciating it for the entire year. Okay? So let's take a look at our information here and start off with the depreciation basis. So in this case, what is going to be my depreciation basis?
The book value, right?
It's going to be the book value, correct. So in this case, right, because I just bought my asset, what's the number I'm going to be using?
890.
The asset cost, good. All right. What's my rate going to be?
Is this a percentage?
You can treat as a percentage.
Or we can just use the number, right?
Yes, you can just do the use the number. Decimals, it makes it easier because then you can just calculate right away. You don't need a percentage. But rates are always determined as a percentage, yes.
Is it a 1 divided by 7 times 2?
7, good.
And,
And what do you get here?
You said you don't have a calculator, Nathan?
no, I don't have the formula on my hand.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that's correct because we're double declining. We're depreciating twice as much.
We have to decline them. So 0.285.
Good. So then, what is going to be my depreciation expense? In this case, I want to round to the nearest penny as well. Okay. How do I determine my depreciation expense?
$254.28.
How did you get that number?
Just multiplied by the depreciation with the rate.
Good. 254.29. Once again, we have to round up for this one. Okay. So then my depreciation, accumulated depreciation is going to be
So we don't have previous, so it's the same.
good. So then what is going to be my book value?
And subtract that.
Okay. Now I get 635.71 cents. Okay. Good. So then what's my depreciation basis for year 2?
635.37.
Good. We're going to carry it over because in this case, the formula for the depreciation basis is going to be the beginning of the year's book value. Okay. So in this case, right, whatever my ending book value for year 1 is, it's going to automatically become the beginning of the year's book value for year 2. So in this case, we're going to be solving for book value and we're going to carry it over to the next year. All right. So in this case, what is going to be my depreciation rate?
The rates stay the same.
The rate is going to stay the same. So in this case, it's going to stay the same through all 7 years. Okay, good. So then, now that my depreciation basis is 635.71, right? How much is going to be my depreciation expense for year 2?
$181.63.
181.63. Okay. What's the ACUM on that?
$435.20.
Good. So then that brings my book value to be
$454.08.
oops, sorry, I forgot. Um, $454.08. Good. So then, what is going to be my depreciation for year 3?
$454.08.
Good. All right. So here we notice that there's a trend. You're going to be carrying the book value over to the depreciation basis. So then let's go ahead and solve for the depreciation expense for year 3.
$129.74.
129.74. So then what's my accumulated depreciation for year 3?
$565.66.
Good. Which brings my book value to be
$324.36.
3, yes, 34, yes. Okay. So then what is going to be my depreciation expense for year 4?
$92.67.
92.67. So then my accumulated depreciation is going to be
3833.
Okay. Which then brings my book value to be
231.67.
231.67. Good. Which then we carry that over for our 5th year, excuse me. So let's keep on going. What's my depreciation expense for year 5?
I got 66.19.
Good. Which then brings my accumulated depreciation to be 724.52. So then what's my book value now?
$165.48.
So as you can see, we're just getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller in depreciation. So let's carry that over for year 6. All right. Question is, will we ever make it to 50? We'll just have to see, okay? So here we are. Well, I guess Excel started picking up what I'm doing here. So depreciation expense for year 6 is going to be $47.28. So what's my accumulated?
771.80.
77,180. And what is going to be my book value?
118.20.
118.20. Okay. All right, let's solve for the last year 7 here. Okay, if I carry that over, what's my depreciation expense? Never mind, it's 33.77. What's my accumulated depreciation?
$805.57.
805.57. Therefore, bringing my grand total to be, my total book value,
$84.43.
$84.43. So, can we go for another year? Can you go for another year?
There is no salvage value for that, right?
There is.
There is? I don't know. $50?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can try not to go lower than 50.
Okay, you want to try one more year? Okay. So here for year 8, right? If my depreciation basis is going to be $84.43, right? We already determined that the rate will stay the same. Okay. So therefore, what is going to be my depreciation expense for year 8?
24.12.
2412, bringing my accumulated depreciation to be
829.69.
829.69, which then brings my book value to be
60.31.
60.31. So here you could keep using your asset as long as you can because at least one thing's there, right? We still reached salvage value. We didn't go beyond salvage value, right? So you can keep on using the asset, right? But the only idea here is that as you go through the years and you keep depreciating it, eventually it will get to 50. But at the end of the day, right? This laptop is already 7 years old. Is it going to make your business any more productive if you keep using this laptop? At this point, it probably takes forever just to turn it on because it's so old. Okay? So that's where you're going to have to make that executive decision. Are you going to hold on to it for another year, or do you want to dispose the asset and just, take a loss for it? Okay? Because in this case, right, we used it for a good, pretty much a good solid portion of its life. Just so what if we didn't meet salvage value? That's only a cap that we placed on there, that if we do sell this laptop, we should be able to get at least $50 out of it. Now, in this case, right, if the laptop is about 7 years old, the only money that you could receive from it is probably money to recycle it. Okay? Because there's a lot of programs out there that encourages people to recycle their electronics instead of throw them in the trash can. And those kind of programs either give you like some kind of cash back, or they give you some kind of voucher that could be applied to another laptop. So it just depends on what, you want to do with it, right? So you can choose to either dispose it at the end of year 7, or you can choose to hold it on for another year and depreciate another year. But once again, it's a laptop. It's already reached its end of its life. It's not going to be as productive. It's going to probably take forever to turn on, etc., etc. Maybe you can't even plug it in anymore because the battery has been overly used. Okay? So there are many reasons why most often many companies, instead of choosing to depreciate it for one more year because you could get, use out of it, you're much better off than just disposing it and just purchasing a new laptop at that point. Okay, so here was an example that you could depreciate it for one extra year, but once again, like I've mentioned, the many reasons why it wouldn't be necessary recommended, right? Depending on what the asset is. Okay, so there we have it. You could choose. You could choose to keep going or dispose it. All right. Any questions for double declining?
No.
No.
Okay. So next one that we have here is going to be straight line. Okay. This is going to be the fun one. All right. So let's take a look at the scenario here. Okay. Question 3 asks that you purchase a table set for $770 with $70 salvage value. Okay. And its useful life is 7 years. Okay. Okay, you put this table into service on August 21st. Use straight line method. Okay, so let's start first. All right, so here the assumption is that we're going to be depreciating at the end of the year, December 31st. So let's start with the very first thing, is filling out this little table here. My asset, what did I buy?
Table set.
I bought a table set. How much did this table set cost me?
$770.
$770. How much salvage value?
70.
$70. Can I put it here? No. So $70. All right. What is its useful life?
7 years.
And last but not least, when did you place this asset into service?
August 21st.
August 21st. So in this case, I'm at the end of August. When do I actually start depreciating?
September.
September. So let's go ahead and solve for the first year. Okay. So in this case, right? Depreciation basis. What's my depreciation basis for straight line?
700.
700, right?
The
We're going to
cost of asset minus the salvage value.
correct. Okay. Good. What is going to be my rate?
You divide 1 by the estimated useful life, which is 7.
Mhm.
Now, this one, are you using decimals or the percentage?
You could use decimals because that just makes it easier to calculate.
Okay.
So in this case, I should get 1428.57, right? Now,
Yes.
let's solve for the depreciation expense. I want to round to the nearest penny for this one. Okay. What's my depreciation expense going to be for the first year?
I got 100.
100. How did you solve for that?
Depreciation basis times depreciation rate.
Okay.
Wait, what are we at? Yes.
Okay. 100. Now, this is for the full year. Can we depreciate this asset for a full year?
Divide that by 4.
No, we have to divide this by 4 because in this case, right, how old is my asset if I place into service as of September? So we got September,
4 months.
October, November, December, 4 months. So in this case, right, we're going to take that $100 and we're going to divide it by 4. Okay, so I'm just going to try to plug it in here that I'm going to times this by 4 and divide the whole thing by 12, right? And we should get 33, right? 4 months out of 12 is 3/1/3, right? So in this case, Nathan, you're not going to be dividing it the whole thing by 4, because in this case, 4 out of 12 is 1/3 of a year. Yes?
What was that? The whole thing is 100 for the whole year, right?
Correct.
Oh, yeah. So we can only depreciate it for, okay.
Yes, because 4 out of 12 months is 1/3 of a year. Okay. So in this case, right? Or what you could do is you could take that 100, divide it by 12 to get how many it costs per month, and then times it by 4 since there's 4 months that exist. And you would get the same answer, $33.33. So therefore, right, since this is the first year, it's going to be $33. So then what is going to be my total book value?
$666.67. Oh,
Let's do that
I
again.
calculated that wrong. Oh,
Yeah, the asset cost, not the depreciation basis.
736.67.
Good. 736.67. Okay. So then that was the first year. So what should happen for the rest of the years? What's my depreciation basis for year 2?
Would it be the 700, right? It's going to stay the same.
Yes, it's going to stay the same all 7 years. Good. What about my rate?
That stays the same, and the depreciation expense.
Yes, except, right, the depreciation expense for the first year is
Oh,
$33.33.
that's right. Yes.
So in this case, what is going to be for my second year? $100. Now this is what's going to stay the same for all the way up to the 7 years. Okay. So then what should be my depreciation basis for year 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, right? This one should be fairly easy. You're adding 100 every single time. So it should be 133. Next one is 2. Oop, I moved it. Next one should be 233, 333, 433, 533, 633. Okay. So then what's my book value going to be? If I'm depreciating it every year, what's my book value going to be for year 2?
636, 67.
636, 67. What about the third year?
100 down every year, right?
100 down every year. So in this case, I notice a trend. So it'd be 536, 436, 336, 236. Okay. Oh, I skipped one more year. So I'm going to pull that down to 136, 67. Okay. Now we're on our 7th year. Why is it that I haven't reached my depreciation? I'm sorry, my salvage value. It's year 7. How old is my asset?
7 years.
Not fully 7 years.
It's not fully 7 years. How many years is it? How old is my asset right now?
6.8, I guess.
6.8. So in this case, it's 6 months and 6 years and 4 months, right? So that means I still have 8 more months left of its life. So in this case, I do have to go through another year because my asset is not even old enough yet. Right? So in this case, it's still 700. It's still this rate. However, I only have 8 more months left on it. I cannot find my, there you go. So what is going to be my depreciation expense if I have 8 months left on it?
$66, $67.
66.67, which then brings my accumulated to be
$699. Oh no, 700.
700 even. That's correct. Therefore, my salvage value, or sorry, my book value is equal to salvage value, $70. Okay, and that's how we do straight line with partial years. Because in this case, right? Yes, I did show you that once you solve for one, you can solve for all of them, right? But in this case, right, it's a special occasion because this time I shouldn't depreciate my asset completely for its first full year. In this case, I only used it for 4 months. It's technically not fair that you would depreciate it completely for its entire year when it's only been used for 4 months. So that's how you understand it, right? It's only 4 months old. You can't say it's 1 year old. Okay? So any questions here?
Yeah, I'll take the first year, and what's left is on just calculate for the last year.
Correct.
This scenario, you have 33.3%.
Yes.
You have to use it 100%. So
Exactly. So in this case, right, because exactly what Nathan said, right? If we know that 100% is $100, you could just easily look at that, take your 33 because that's what you used so far. How do I get to 100 for the remaining of its life? It'd be $66.67. Right? Good. Okay. All right, last but not least is going to be amortization. So, if you guys remember, what method will you be using for amortization?
Amortization method.
Right, but what is it similar to is what I'm trying to say. Like, what is it similar to in terms of depreciation? Which method would you use?
Straight line.
You would use straight line. Okay, so in this case, on October 10, you decided to purchase a license for $556. Okay, its useful life is 15 years. So once again, we bought a license. Okay, and it cost me $556. Okay, as we know, anything that's intangible will never have a salvage value because in this case, right, a patent license, it holds its value, but the idea here is that it expires at the end of its life. So once you reach the 15 years, it's at zero. And the way that you are able to add value to it is by renewing the license, patents, or whatever it is, the protective layer, right? And you can choose to either pay more, pay less, depending on what the market is, right? So in this case, right, there is no salvage value when it comes to amortization. Okay, its estimated useful life is 15 years, and here's also important too. When's the date that you place into service?
October 10th, so it's gonna be 2 months. No, 3 months.
3 months. Good. October, November, and December because it's the beginning of October. So therefore, for the very first year of its life, you're going to amortize it for 3 months. So let's take a look at depreciation basis. What is my depreciation basis going to be?
It's the same thing, asset cost.
It's just going to be the asset cost, okay? And what do we know? If it's similar to straight line, what do we know about the depreciation basis?
Same all the way.
It will be the same all the way. What about my rate? What's my rate going to be?
I got 0.06666.
Okay? And once again, this should be the same all the way. Okay? So let's go ahead and solve for the very first years of its depreciation expense, or in this case, amortization expense, but it's just similar. They're the same. So in this case, right, what is going to be my amortization expense? So in the case, equal round for the first year.
Okay, let me see if I understand this now. So the total I got was 3707,
Okay.
but because it's not a year old, you're gonna divide that by 12 and then multiply by, is it 4?
October,
3.
November, December, 3.
3.
Mm-hmm.
So I got 926.
Okay, so let's see. Times 3 divided by 12. $9.27. Good. So of course my accumulated amortization is going to be the same for the first year. So then what's going to be my book value?
546.73.
54673. Okay. Once again, now that we know what the rest should look like, right? So in this case, instead of multiplying it by 3 and dividing it by 12, okay, it's going to be $37.07 every single year. Okay. Right? So then what's my accumulated depreciation going to be for year 2? Or I'm sorry, amortization, accumulated amortization for year 2.
4634.
4634, which brings my book value to be
50966.
50966. Good. What's my accumulated amortization for year 3?
8341.
8341, which brings my book value to be
472.59.
472.50. Good. What's my accumulated depreciation for year 4?
12048.
12048, which brings my book value to be
43552.
good. Last but not least, what about my 5th year of accumulated amortization?
157.55.
Good, which brings my book value down to 398.45. So once again, I'm not going to make you do all 15 years. That's crazy. But yes, the idea is there. You're just going to keep adding, and subtracting. So in this case, once again, this reflects straight line. Amortization is identical to straight line. The only difference is there is no salvage value. Okay? All right. Any questions in regards to anything that we learned in chapter 11?
No.
Okay. Okay. So like I've mentioned before, what I'm going to do for the next